Hey friends, what's up? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. It's time to take a look at a new, why did it sound like I was puking there? Hope you're doing well. It's time to take a look at a new cologne fragrance. This one from the House of Fragrance World underneath their French Avenue sub-brand, and it's named Arsh. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Probably not. Arsh. Is it good? Well. So this one I got from Fragrance Buy, and it's running about 50 bucks US. So we're gonna run through this one and see if it's worth that price point, because when you start to get up around there as far as cologne fragrances go, that's like the upper end of what most people would want to be paying. Usually, you know, it's around 30, even under 30 is where most people want to be at. So this is like touching the top of what would be considered acceptable for most people. Oh my God! Overreaction.
That was an overreaction.
I'll have it linked in the description. Feel free to check it out down there if you are interested. And the reason that I don't have this on, this is a slipcover, is because it's honestly pretty difficult to get back on there. Like, this was kind of a bear to even get off without ripping. It was one of those slipcovers that's just like, so unbelievably tight onto the box that it's tough to remove. What do you say we go ahead and start by taking a look at the presentation, and then we can start talking about the scent itself. So here we have the slip cover, which I am not putting back on. On the front, you have the name of the house, French Avenue, and Extrait. You have French Avenue up top. On the back, you have your sticker of authenticity, your ingredients, your badge code, and your barcode. And here is the box itself, which looks pretty nice actually. It feels good, it's nice quality. You have the name of the fragrance, Extrait, once again, and it has a magnetic closure right here. This little triangular piece, you pull down on it and it says French Avenue. Almost reminds me of like those Lucky jeans, where if you undo the zipper, it says Lucky You, French Avenue. And then on the back, you have your ingredients, and once again, your barcode. It opens up like so, and your bottle sits down inside there. It's a nice presentation, it really is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bottle. And here we have the bottle. Feels nice and good, heavy in the hand. It has the name of the fragrance and Extrait on the front. They need you to know that it's an Extrait, extremely important. French Avenue on top of the cap. You have a sticker on the bottom. On the back of the bottle says French Avenue once again, and the cap does click into place. You know what time it is. It's time to try out the atomizer. This one's actually really good. Nice pressurized atomizer. Here we go. Ooh. Bleh. Like I said, this is about 50 bucks from Fragrance Buy. Is it worth that price? Also, what is it a clone of? Well, it is a clone of this Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Platine Prive. Actually, no breakdown wise, pretty much the exact same. And Platine Prive, at first blush, you might look at that and be like, why even do a clone of that? You know, it's not that old. Well, it's one of those fragrances that people really enjoy, but is not very often available, especially at a good price. Basically, everybody as of this video is sold out as far as like all the big discounters go, so you can't really get it. And so that makes sense that they would do an alternative to this one so that it's readily available and hopefully it smells similar, you get it. Question is, does it smell similar enough, especially for 50 bucks? Well, first things first, they did not nail the opening. Absolutely not. I very much prefer the opening to the Guerlain. The French Avenue comes across more lemony. It has more of that like sharp aspect to it, whereas the Guerlain has bergamot and grapefruit, and it comes across blended very well, has almost like a creamy sweetness to it, which is gonna be that underlying almond, whereas the French Avenue, you pretty much get popped with that sharp citrus, that lemon, right as soon as you spray it on. Like I'll go ahead and do a couple here on my wrist, and a couple here of this one. Yeah, lemony, sharp, kind of an underlying green facet to it, talking about the French Avenue, whereas the Guerlain, smooth, creamy, sweet, with a really nice blend of grapefruit and bergamot to the point that they almost just meld together. With the French Avenue, it's one of those deals, if you don't have the Guerlain or you haven't smelled it in a while, you could spray this on and be like, oh yeah, it does remind me of Platine Prive, but then when you go back and forth, you go, ooh, yeah, it It didn't quite get that, huh? Now as it dries down, it does get a bit closer, but it never is, for me, a full-on replacement for Platine Prive. So what ends up happening is almost the almond aspect, that sort of creamy aspect that you get in Platine Prive and a lot of the other L'Homme Ideal fragrances. You don't get much of that here in Arsh. I still don't know if that's the correct way to pronounce that. It sounds funny every time I say it. Not even trying to, it's just Arsh. But yeah, a lot of that almond aspect, which is, to be frank, a big part of the L'Homme Ideal line, you don't really get here. It kind of gets you that lemony citrus that gets you kind of close to L'Homme Ideal Platine Prive, but you know, missing some of those aspects that I mentioned before. Close enough to remind you of it, not close enough to be a replacement for it. And then it kind of skips over a lot of that almond that you pick up in the original. And instead of getting like that soft, very pleasant neroli that kind of rides underneath everything that you get in the Guerlain, in the French Avenue, it is more just, like I said earlier, kind of a green underlying feel that you get that doesn't necessarily hit like neroli. And then it segs pretty much straight into like a musky, woodsy base with some of that citrus vibe carrying over into the dry down, talking about the French Avenue. And I know it sounds like I'm really, really hating on it. It's not that it's a bad fragrance. It does smell pleasant, but for 50 bucks in the cologne world, I don't think so, and I don't think it's good enough for me personally where I would ever choose to wear this over this. Now, if this went down to 30 bucks, something like that, then at that point it becomes more attractive as far as a pickup goes for a lot of people. But I think where it's priced right now, it doesn't give me what I want from a fragrance that smells like Platine Prive, and I don't think it's good enough that it warrants a purchase. One other thing, if I do these side by side, one spray to one spray, the Guerlain actually has a little more push to it. I know this isn't straight, and part of this could be the Atomizer. It's a really good pressurized one, as you see right there, but it doesn't do like a huge amount of fragrance when you spray. I think that you actually get a little more with that one than this one, which is just to say, if you do get this one, you spray it on the same amount as that one, you may not get the same amount of performance. At least that's been my experience, but to be fair, I have only worn it a couple of times now, so it's not like this has been sitting here macerating for like 2 months or something, so be aware of that, because I know there are people out there who swear by that, and they'll say, dude, you gotta let it sit. So these are first impressions, be aware. So there we go. That's Arsh Extrait. My suggestion would be wait just a little bit for that price to come down if you're interested in it. It's not that it's bad, it's just it's missing what makes the L'Homme Ideal line the L'Homme Ideal line. You can't give an alternative that doesn't really have the almond, that's missing that creamy aspect that really draws people in. When you hit me with something that comes across a little bit harsher, it's gonna stand out even more because of that lack of creaminess, for lack of better terminology. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, and I will see you again with another fragrance video. See you guys.